This is part of our gubernatorial candidate interviews. My name is Tim Duffy. I'm the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Association of School Committees, and we're interviewing John Robitaille, candidate for governor. He's the Republican candidate for governor. Mr. Robitaille, do you want to make any opening statements concerning education?
No, it's good to be here. I'm glad that the association is taking this effort to allow your members and the general public to be able to log on the website and see what our views are on education.
Do you support binding arbitration for teacher contracts?
No, I do not. I do not support that process because I believe that the outcome of any arbitration would impact taxpayer dollars, and I think the local community, the elected officials, should have that final say.
Okay. Do you support contract continuation legislation?
No, I don't. I think that would just drag out the normal process of trying to reach agreement, so I don't support it.
In fiscal year 2012, the state will lose approximately $240 million in federal funds. At the same time, the newly enacted state aid to education formula promises to increase education funding by 2.5% in the same fiscal year 2012. Will you be able to honor the commitment to increase education funding?
I think it was great that the General Assembly finally passed the school funding formula. I mean, I think we were the last state in the country to have one. I will make every effort to fulfill that promise. I think it's important, but we have to put that within the context of these very difficult economic times that we're in. But education is a high priority.
Okay. Later this month, 11th grade students will be taking their kneecap assessments in math and English. The results of those tests will account for 50% of their graduation requirements. Past performance on the test indicates that thousands of students may not achieve a passing grade and could be at risk of not graduating. How do you plan on addressing this issue?
Well, I think it's important that we do have minimum graduation standards, but it's also important that we have an earlier assessment of these children who may be at risk of not graduating, so that we can develop individual learning plans for these children earlier on, so that we're not waiting up until the last minute of actually taking the test. Now, my understanding also, Tim, is that RIDE has some optional or ability to have a child retested, or there may be some other forms of being able to prove a proficiency. So I think we have to work at this. It's going to take some time for us to work out the bugs, but I definitely think it's a good thing that we do hold kids accountable to achieve certain things before they can graduate.
Do you support mayoral control of schools?
Well, if you're talking about the mayors actually controlling the schools, I've got an issue with that. I think the school committees and you know, the local governmental body that we have together there for the schools should. But I am supportive of mayoral academies, the charter schools, definitely. But I don't think the mayors themselves should be in direct control of the schools.
Would you repeal the Carullo Act?
Yes, I would. I don't believe that school committees should be able to sue their own citizens in a town.
Okay. Should city and town councils ratify or negotiate contracts instead of school committees?
You know, I wouldn't be opposed to having the members of the town council sitting on the negotiations. I think that school committees are often at a disadvantage because they don't have professional negotiators representing them for the most part. But one thing I am very in favor of is having, just like on the union side, when a negotiation is reached or a tentative agreement is reached, it's ratified by the members of the union. I think that the tentative agreement should be posted for all citizens of the community for at least 30 days so that they have an opportunity to look at and weigh in on what this tentative agreement is.
In your opinion, what are the keys to improving classroom instruction?
Wow. That's a big one. I believe it's based on accountabilities and measures, both for students and for teachers. We need to ensure that our teachers are teaching the right curriculums that will lead to kids being proficient at a level that would be required to get the jobs of the 21st century. And we have to ensure that our teachers are qualified, they have the right tools, and that we have the right teachers in the right classrooms delivering the kind of education that our kids need. So it's a whole systemic approach, and I think that Deborah Gist is heading in that direction, and I know there's some bumps in the road, but I think the outcome and the desire and the method that we're taking is right on.
Do you favor one statewide school district?
No, I do not. I believe that parents and communities want local control over their schools.
Okay, a follow-up to that is, do you favor consolidated districts, and if so, how many?
Yeah, I think you've got to be careful what you wish for. If my information is correct, I think if you look back at the administrative cost per student in the Charahost School District compared to a single community such as Westerly, the cost per student is actually a little bit higher there. And I know there was either Wisconsin or I don't know, one of the states out of the Midwest actually did do some consolidating and did not find a significant decrease in cost. I think before we commit to doing any regionalization or consolidation, we need to first a really in-depth, deep dive study to see if we are, number one, going to save cost. Two, are we going to actually, with the consolidation, amount to a decrease in learning? There's too many factors that are unknown, and until I can be proven, it can be proven to me that we're actually going to save money and not harm the quality of education. I'm not in support of it. Not in support of it.
How would you lessen the reliance on property taxes to fund education?
Another tough one. Property tax burden right now is really significant. I mean, we're driving seniors out of their homes. It's really, really difficult. Perhaps with this school funding formula, and when we stimulate our economy so that maybe we could go back to the days of revenue sharing, wouldn't that be great? But property taxes is probably one of the most oppressive taxes that there are, and I think we have to look at other forms of funding education, up to and including public-private partnerships. Perhaps we can get corporations to fund certain parts of education. Perhaps we can get corporations to fund some of the athletic programs and special programs for gifted kids. I think we need engagement of the entire community.
Would you, if elected, introduce or support legislation limiting the scope of collective bargaining to salaries, benefits, and working conditions?
Yes, I would. I think that's important that we give management rights back to the school departments and the school committees. Those are the representatives of the people. And I think that it's time that we really take a close look at fixing these schools and not let adult contracts get in the way of doing what's right for the kids.
If elected, would you make any changes to the Board of Regents? And would you consider appointing a current school committee member to the board?
If I'm not mistaken, I think in times past there have been school committee members who have been on the board. I think we should look at having as diverse a Board of Regents as we can. I would absolutely consider current school committee members for positions on the board.